What do you think when you hear the rockets coming from Iran, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon? What do you think? And then let me add one more thing to the equation. Reports today that Saudi Arabia was involved in the defense of Israel. What is the prophetic nature or implications possibly of such a report?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, you mentioned several nations. That fits into the prophetic scenario because Ezekiel 38 and 39 is not just Iran, it's a conglomeration of nations. And so what I'm seeing here is a hostility against Israel, not just by one nation, but by a pact of Islamic nations. And then the second part, I'm so glad you brought this up because I saw this earlier also in a headline. Interestingly, Saudi Arabia has played a role in helping, knock down some of the missiles and so forth coming from Iran into Israel. Well, that's Ezekiel 38, verse 13. Ezekiel 38, verse 13 makes a prediction that Sheba and Dedan, who we believe are modern-day Saudi Arabia, kind of stage when this prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and 39 ultimately is fulfilled. They sort of staged this lame protest. They're not cooperating with the invaders. And so for a long time, Bible prophecy experts have scratched their heads at that and puzzled as to why Saudi Arabia wouldn't participate. Some have speculated, well, Iran is Shiite, Saudi Arabia is Sunni Muslim. Maybe that's the reason. More recently, we've learned that Saudi Arabia is about to enter, probably the next nation to fall, into the Abraham Accords, which are normalization agreements between Israel and any Islamic country that will acknowledge Israel's right to exist. All they have to do is acknowledge Israel's right to exist, and Israel opens up to said country trade, travel, tourism, and technology. So that becomes another explanation as to why the Saudis would speak up when this invasion occurs and not participate in it. And here we're seeing more evidence of it. It's just absolutely fascinating to me that the Saudis are on the side of the Israelis, helping protect the Israelis from these incoming missile attacks from Iran. So anytime you see Saudi Arabia sort of dissenting, as we're talking about here, from a faction of nations spearheaded by Iran against Israel, that's the specifics of God's word lining up, because God 2,600 years ago, through the prophet Ezekiel, gave this little minute detail that has puzzled many people until recent times. The Saudis will not cooperate with the invasion. And so this is more evidence of the fissure or the fraction of the Saudis from the rest of the Islamic nations coming against Israel in the last days. So what I'm trying to say is the tiny specific details of God's word are now in play. And God is showing, I believe, through these things that the stage is being set right to the most minute detail for the fulfillment eventually of Ezekiel 38 and 39, right down to Saudi descent.